Hi, I'm Ashlyn, and welcome to this shoulder and upper back opening flow where we will move towards Gomukhasana. For our practice today, you may wish to have a blanket and a strap, and some of you might also want a block as well, but the first two props are going to be the most useful. Let's get started. Come onto your back. And we'll begin today in something called constructive rest pose. So I want you to bend your knees, take your feet a little bit wider than your outer hips, and just rest your inner knees together at the center of your mat. And then reach your arms straight up to the sky. Cross one arm over the other. See if you can really get in there. Pull your shoulder blades apart. Take a steady breath in. Exhale, close your eyes. Keep your arms here and just let them drop onto your chest. And take these first few moments of stillness in our practice to check in with yourself today. Notice how your body is feeling on this particular practice day. Feel the spaciousness in the upper back, in the lower back, around the sacrum. And keeping your eyes closed, inhale, stretch your arms up. And just switch the cross of your arms. See if you can pull your shoulder blades apart. Take a big breath in. And exhale, just let your arms drop onto your chest. See if you can begin to breathe a little more deeply and a little more fully. Notice if you could, instead of just, like expanding the chest and the belly, could you expand the sides of your ribs? Could you even expand into your kidney band and your low back? Start to shift into your ujjayi breath in and out through your nose. Next inhale, stretch your arms straight up. Exhale, lower your arms down by your sides and blink your eyes open. So we'll begin today lifting both feet off the ground, and you can do one of two things. You can cross your right shin in front of your left, and then you try to reach out and you can either grab your feet, your shins, or maybe your knees or even thighs. Or if you're ready for it, take reclined cow face pose. Cross your right thigh over the left, and then grab either your feet, your ankles, or your shins. And you keep the feet flexed, especially if you're actually holding the feet as you pull feet towards outer hips. Notice if you feel a lot of rounding in your lower back. What would it be like to reach your tailbone towards the floor instead? Does that help you get your natural curve back in your low back? Now, nice and easy, just switch sides. So you either cross left shin in front of right, or you can stack left thigh over right. And just reach anywhere in the lower leg that you can easily grab. And then if you're holding the feet, you flex them vigorously, and we pull the feet in towards the outer hips, reaching the tailbone earthwards to maintain our natural lumbar curve. Take one more steady breath here. Now let go of your legs. Now I want you to take your shins up parallel to the floor, almost like your shins are resting on a chair. Keep your inner ankles, inner feet together, flex your feet. Now just notice here the natural curve of your lumbar spine. Notice how easy that is, how easy that feels on the lower back. I want you to do your best to maintain that as we work through this next shape. Now thread your right arm under the left, and you're either going to bring the backs of your hands together or close together, or some of you might lace the palms for full eagle. Now next inhale, reach your fingertips behind your head. And then as you exhale, curl your head and chest up, bring your elbows towards your thighs, but can you do that without rounding your lower back? And then as you inhale, come back down. And do that again. Exhale, spread the toes, curl your chest up. Inhale, lower yourself back down. And then again, exhale, curl your chest up. Inhale, roll your spine down. Last two, exhale to curl. And inhale to lower. One last time, exhale, curl your chest up. Inhale, roll your chest down. Switch the cross of the arms. Garuda arms, second side, left arm under. Inhale, fingertips behind the head. Exhale, curl your chest up. Can you maintain the natural curve in your low back? Inhale, lie back down. Four more times, exhale, curl. Inhale, lower. Again, exhale, curling up. Keep pulling your elbows away from your upper back. Inhale, back down. Last two, exhale, curl. Inhale, release. Here we go. Last one. Exhale, curl. And inhale all the way down. Hug your knees into your chest. Feel free to roll to your side, push yourself up, or maybe rock up and down your spine a couple of times, staying off of your neck. And let's come right on up to seated. Now, some of you may wish to grab a block or even two blocks for this next part. You can either sit cross-legged or you can join me and sit on your heels, or maybe you take one or two blocks and put your sitting bones on the blocks. Now, you're going to need your strap for this next part. I want you to take your strap and you're going to try to hold it out at about your wingspan. It's not going to be exactly your wingspan, but as close as you can get. Keep your arms super straight for this. Now for this first one, I want you to do this movement without changing anything that's instinctively happening and just pay attention to what happens in your spine. So keep your arms straight and inhale the strap overhead. Keep your arms straight and reach the strap down and behind you and just kind of notice what's going on in your spine and chest. Now reverse that, lift the strap up and exhale, reach the strap down and forwards. So this round, I want you to try to do the same movement in your shoulders without involving your spine. And it probably is going to feel like a little bit of core work if you're anything like me. So here we go. As you inhale, slowly lift your strap overhead. And I want you to pay attention to the moment when it becomes really hard not to back bend. Can you pause there? Can you commit to knitting your ribs in and back without rounding the lower back? Good, and then lift the strap all the way overhead and then slowly start to reach the strap back. Same thing here. Can you do this without your ribs popping forwards? So you lift your back ribs high and then slowly reach it back. Try to move really slowly here so you can feel the moment it gets hard. Lift your strap up behind you. Notice when it becomes really challenging not to back bend, recommit to softening your front ribs, back of the neck long. Lift the strap up and then slowly reach it forwards. If that felt manageable, you can bring your hands slightly closer. We're going to do two more. Slowly lift the strap up. Pay attention to the moment it becomes really hard. Maybe it's lower than this, maybe it's here. Can you soften your front ribs in? Lift your back ribs up without rounding your low back or involving your trap, so neck is long. And then slowly start to take the strap back and down. Keep knitting your ribs in and back. And then lift the strap up behind your back. Slowly reach it forwards and down. All right, last one. You can always take your hands a little closer. Again, just if that feels manageable. Here we go. Lift the strap forwards and up. Keep your spine neutral. Knit your ribs slightly in and back, back of the neck long. And then keep your arms straight and slowly take your arms back. And then here we go. Last one, maybe ever. Lift your strap up behind your back. And slowly bring the strap forwards and down. All right, lose the strap. We'll use it again much later in the class. And come onto all fours. So spread your finger bones nice and wide, push the floor away from you, and make sure your thumb and index knuckles especially stay grounded. Extend your right leg straight back behind you. Curl the toes under. And then right away here, commit to lifting your right leg from the inner thigh and lift your toes off the ground. Flex or point or floint your foot, spread your toes, low belly in. Now, reach your left arm forwards and feel how it's the same work, it's just on one arm. So are your ribs getting displaced on the left side? Do you need to soften your front ribs into your back body? If that's really hard, maybe try taking your left arm an inch or two lower. Press down into the top of your left foot. Inhale. Exhale, hug your elbow and knee together. Inhale, extend your arm and leg. Exhale, hug your elbow and knee in. Inhale, can you keep all that work as you extend the arm? So keep on knitting your ribs in. Exhale, last one, elbow and knee together. Inhale to extend. Now hold it here for an extra breath. Spin your left outer upper arm out to the left and down. Knit your ribs in and back. Push the floor away from you with your right inner hand. And then bring your left hand down. Bring your right knee down. Maybe shift your hips a little side side. Now extend your left leg straight back behind you. Curl the toes under. Commit to lifting your left leg from the inner thigh. Flex point or floint your left foot. Low belly in. Now slowly stretch your right arm forwards. Spin your right outer upper arm out to the right and down. Reach longer through your right hand. Are your right ribs starting to displace? Could you knit your ribs in and back and keep rolling your left inner thigh up? Lastly, is your right hip moving to the right? Could you hug that in? Take a breath in. Exhale, hug your elbow and knee together. Inhale, reach your arm and leg. And again, exhale, hug it in. Can you keep that work in your core Inhale to extend, even as we're moving dynamically. One more time. Exhale, hug it in. Inhale, reach your arm and leg long. Hold this here for an extra beat. Left big toe traces your inseam, ribs in, and then right hand down, left knee down. Shift your hips a little side. Now planting your hands down, shoulders width apart, step your feet back into plank pose. Push the floor away from you. So as you broaden your upper back, can you also send your top sternum forwards? Feel like your thumbs are trying to drag together on your mat, but then roll your outer upper arms away from each other. Tops of the thigh bones lift up, but tailbone slides down to the heels. Now, where is your gaze? Could you keep it steady at a point just in front of your mat? Take one more steady breath. With your exhale, lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Now, first down dog of our practice together, you're always welcome to adjust your stance as needed. So maybe you bend the knees to start. Maybe your feet come wide, or even a shorter stance if the hamstrings feel tender. Drive your heels down towards the floor. And see if you can feel, again, same work even in this down dog. Arms are overhead. Are your ribs getting displaced? If you're a naturally kind of backbendy person, that's a new vocab word starting today, then you might find that's your natural tendency in down dog. So could you knit your ribs in and back if you need that work without losing your dog tilt and rounding the low back? Now next inhale, shift forwards into plank. Exhale, lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Can you keep the work as we move back and forth? Do that again. Inhale, shift forwards to plank. Exhale, lift your hips up and back. One more time. Inhale, shift forwards into plank. This time, exhale, lower your knees. Bend your elbows straight back. Lower all the way down to your belly. Now point your toes, lengthen tailbone to heels, inner thighs roll higher than outer thighs, and then inhale, gentle cobra. Lift your head, lift your chest. And exhale, roll your spine down. And we'll do it again. Inhale, lift your head and chest. Feel the hands trying to drag back and out. And exhale to the floor. One more time. Inhale, shoulder heads back, tailbone long. Curl your chest up. Activate your legs. And exhale, roll your spine down. Curl toes under. Inhale. Exhale, push yourself up into plank. Lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. So externally rotating your outer upper arms, feeling how that creates some space in the sides of your neck. If it's needed, ribs in, right? If you're someone who finds that you naturally round a lot in this pose, maybe your work today is to sink your chest more towards your thighs. Now, next inhale, lift your heels, look forwards. Exhale, walk your feet up to meet your hands. Feet hips width and parallel. With your inhale, hands to shins, come up halfway. Keep your hips stacked over your heels. Exhale, bend your knees and fold. And then again, inhale, hands to shins, come up halfway. Exhale, bow forwards, generous bend in the knees. One more time, inhale, come up halfway. This time, stay here. Shoulders on the back, bring your hands to your hips. Can you reintegrate your shoulder blades onto your back without moving your elbows? Come all the way up to standing. And exhale, lower your arms. All right, let's add on a little bit here. Next inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, fold forwards over your legs. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, step your right foot back and stay up on the ball of your right foot. Now, without touching, keep your fingertips on the floor. Can you firm your left outer hip in? And as you do so, can you even feel like the top of your left thigh bone is going down towards the floor? And then roll your right inner thigh up and lift the top of your right thigh bone up. Now check things out. Bring your hands to your hips and notice, are your hips doing what you thought they were? Are they level? Do you need to wrap your left outer hip back and in a little bit more? Stay here or reach your arms overhead. And again, notice you have the urge to take your arms like really far back. Could you take them maybe a little farther forward so you really feel that work? Front of your torso is just as long as the back of your torso. Next exhale, bring your hands to the floor and step back to plank. Feel free to go right back to down dog or inhale, shift forwards. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, either Urdhva Mukha, up dog, or Bhujangasana, cobra. Lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. So really pushing into the inner hand. Feel like you're trying to make a wrinkle at the center of your mat. That's how much your thumbs are trying to drag together. But then against that, roll your biceps out and away from each other. Now next inhale, lift your right leg straight up and back, three-legged down dog. Exhale, step or help your right foot all the way through. So feet in two lanes, stay up on your fingertips. Left heel is lifted, and without touching first, hug your right outer hip in, and even feel the top of your right thigh bone weighting down towards the floor. Roll your left inner thigh up. Top of the left thigh bone is buoyant. Now bring your hands to your hips and just check things out. Are your hips where you thought they were? Could you wrap your right hip back and in even more? Stay here, or with your belly just off of your thigh, reach your arms overhead. So do you need to knit the ribs in and back? Could you externally rotate your outer upper arms even more and grow your fingertips longer? Is the back and sides of your neck still long? Inhale. Exhale, bring your fingertips to the floor. Step your left foot next to the right. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. One more time, inhale, halfway. And this time you're going to step your left foot back. Come down onto your left knee. Option to keep your left toes pointed or curl the toes under. Bring your hands up to your right thigh. And now lift your chest up over the line of your hips. Now see if you can roll your left inner thigh back and feel the top rim of your pelvis lift up towards the bottom of your chest. Almost like you're doing a little tiny crunch. Never getting away from the core work. Now try to keep your pelvis upright and then maybe see if there's room to sink a little bit, maybe not. Now slowly reach your arms overhead. And I want you to, again, just like we did with the strap, pay attention to the moment when it turns into a back bend. See if you can come back just before that moment. Recommit to keeping the front of your body the same length as the back of your body. Anchor your tailbone down. Then maybe start to lift your arms and chest higher. Keep spinning your outer upper arms away from each other. If anyone wants more sensation, more intensity, try hooking your thumbs. Same work though. Spin your outer upper arms away from each other. Knit your ribs in and back. Maybe let the hips sink. Now keep your arms where they are. Curl your toes under. Straighten your left leg a little bit or a lot. See if you can get it straighter. It's okay if it doesn't straighten. Priority is to keep the front of your pelvis upright. For 3, straighten your arms vigorously. For 2, maybe reach them back in space. For 1, exhale, bring your hands to the floor, step to plank. Inhale, shift forwards. Exhale, lower partway or all the way. Inhale to your back bend and make your way back, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths. So just noticing here as we continue moving, breathing, stretching. Keep checking back in, just like we did when we began the practice. Notice what's shifting as we move. With your next inhale, stretch your left leg straight up and back, three-legged down dog. Exhale, step or help your left foot all the way through. Come down onto your right knee and bring your hands up to your left thigh. As you come upright, roll your right inner thigh back. Lift the front of your pelvis towards the bottom of your chest without rounding your lower back. Could it be just a pure pelvic movement? Now, nice and slowly here, maybe see if you can let the hips sink without letting the pelvis tip forwards, and reach your arms overhead. So again, try to do this really slowly so you can really feel that moment when it becomes a back bend, kind of without really thinking about it. So maybe back out a little bit, keep spinning your outer upper arms away from each other, soften your front ribs back, lift your back ribs up, then maybe see if the arms can go straighter and higher. In order to really successfully and effectively open the shoulders, we have to stabilize the spine. Option to hook the thumbs maybe the other way if you did so on the first side. Keep growing your arms longer. Curl your right toes under, lift your right knee up. Again, it's okay if your right leg stays bent. You're still rolling the inner thigh back and up, knitting your rib cage in and back and peeling the front rim of your pelvis up towards your chest for 3. Some of you might get the arms behind your ears. Can you do it without turning it to a back bend? 2. Now bring your hands down to the floor and step your right foot next to the left. Take an inhale to come up halfway and an exhale to bow forwards. Inhale, stand all the way up. Circle your arms up, palms together. Bring your thumbs to your chest. Now standing with your feet hips width and parallel. With your next inhale, reach your arms up. Grab a hold of your right wrist with your left hand, right pinky side of the hand facing forwards. And as you inhale, pull your wrist up. And as you exhale, tip your torso over to your left. So with each inhale, give your wrist a little tug. Exhale, firm your left outer hip in, and then feel the upper body leaning over to your right. You might even slightly spin your left underarm forwards. Now inhale, come back up through center. Switch sides. Grab your left wrist, pinky side of the hand forwards. Pull your wrist up, and then tip your torso to your right. So you're slightly spinning the right underarm forwards. You're firming your left outer hip in, and you feel each exhale lean your upper body more to the side. Next inhale, come all the way back up through center and bring your hands to your heart. All right, now you're gonna stand with your feet together, big toes together, sides of the feet parallel. But if you know that, spoiler alert, chair pose is better for you with your feet hips width, that's fine, but we are gonna transition. So I find it a little easier, big toes together, sides of the feet parallel. All right, that was like a little stall tactic, and now let's do it. Bend your knees, sink your hips, reach your arms up and over your head, come into Utkatasana. So can you feel this initiated at the tops of your thigh bones instead of the knees? So instead of thinking of bending your knees more, could you send your thigh bones back and then down towards the floor? And then you lift your low belly off of your hips, off of your thighs. Now try to keep everything else the same. Keep knitting your ribs in and back, anchor your tailbone towards the floor. Lift your left leg up 1 inch. Hug your right outer hip in, sink your hips down and back. Send the top of your right thigh bone back and down. Now cross your left leg over the right for eagle. Toes down, toes hover, or you wrap, full eagle. Now you're gonna thread left arm under right. Backs of the hands or palms together. Lift your fingertips up and pull your elbows away from your face. Now send the tops of your thigh bones back and down. And ask yourself, could you hug your left thigh bone, top of the thigh bone, back and down even more than the right? So that your hips feel really level. Keep drawing your elbows forwards and up for 3, for 2, and then inhale, chair pose. Good news, I won't make you do the second side yet. Exhale, fold. Take a quick break, bend your knees. All right, and you know what happens if you wait too long before the second side, right? Nothing happens. So let's do it. Bend your knees, sink your hips, reach your arms up. So send the tops of your thigh bones down and then back, and let that initiate depth in this pose. Now pick up your right foot 1 inch. Left hip, did it pop to the side? Can you hug it back in and sit down and back? Keep sending the top of your thigh bone back and let that guide your shin bone back. Now cross your right leg over the left, toes down, toes hover, or wrap. Thread your right arm under the left, backs of hands, maybe palms together. Now lift your fingertips up. Draw your elbows out and away from your face. Maybe sit a little bit lower. Tops of thigh bones move down and back. Could you soften your right outer hip down and back even more so the hips feel really level? 3. Elbows move forwards and up. 2. Unwind your legs, feet together. Inhale, chair pose, just a breath. Exhale, fold. Heel toe your feet out so their hips width may be wider. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, refold. Always feel free to bend the knees. You really want to make sure you're getting the belly on or between your thighs when you're forward folding, standing up. So good idea to bend the knees to make that happen. So we're getting hip flexion and we're not overly accentuating spinal flexion. Now next inhale, come up halfway. Walk your feet back, come down onto your knees for just a moment. And you're going to come down onto your elbows. Grab a hold of opposite biceps, and you either interlace your hands or take your forearms parallel. The latter will be a little more intense, palms facing down. If you have a block, you could also put a block between your hands. That's a good intermediary pose between the two. Now you're going to step your feet back into forearm plank, and I want you to make sure here your elbows stay locked in place. Keep on hugging them together and push the floor away. Walk your feet in, come into dolphin pose. So as you walk the feet in, don't worry about it if your heels don't touch the ground. That's not a big deal. But what I want you to make sure of here is that you're really pushing the floor away with your elbows. You feel your shoulder blades widening on your upper back, and you're pressing your chest back towards your thighs while trying to knit your rib cage in and back, even here. So especially if you have that tendency to turn this into a back bend with your arms overhead, it's very much accentuated in dolphin pose. Keep pressing chest to thighs. You can even imagine someone has their hand on your lower back and they're pushing up to guide your ribs up. So you feel the front and back sides of your torso long. You have 2 more breaths. I know it's a lot. You can do this. Keep pushing the floor away. Make sure your elbows are not sliding apart. Last breath. Let your head hang. Now walk your feet back into forearm plank and exhale all the way down onto your belly. Whew. All right, come into Sphinx for just a moment here. Now, this next one we're going to do, we are going to hold it for a short while on each side, and then we'll take it into something slightly more active. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Come onto your right side and hold your head in your right hand. And then first, just do this without actually touching. Take your left arm out to the side, and I want your thumb to face down towards your hip and your palm to face back. Now, see if you can do this without touching your back or your shirt. Bend your elbow and bring the back of your hand towards your lower back. You could stay right here for just another moment. You could try to reach the hand higher up towards the shoulder blades. It's hard. And then go ahead and press the back of your hand into your lower back. So the higher you go towards, just like cow face pose, hint, hint, the higher you go towards the neck, the more intense this is. We are going to hold it for several breaths. So if it's too much, lower your hand. If that's still too much, take your hand wider to the left, and you'll know what I'm talking about in just a second. Now you're going to slowly lie on your back and lie on top of your hand. And then I want your right arm overhead, and you can either kind of reach down towards the left shoulder and rest your head on your right upper arm, or if that's too much, drape your right arm over the side of your head on the floor. Your legs can be positioned however you would like, and we'll just take a few steady breaths here. And normally, if we were doing this in like a yin class, I would tell you to go to no more than 70-ish% of your max. But we're not going to hold this for very long, so you can go closer to your edge if that's appropriate for you today. Notice if you feel your left shoulder blade really popping off of your back. Could you even feel here your left outer upper arm is spinning out? So even as you're kind of in internal rotation, could you resist that with external rotation to try to get your shoulder blade on the ground? Now you're going to slowly roll to your side. And we're going to have like a little seal moment here. You're just going to keep rolling. Come onto your left side. Hold your head in your left hand. Take your right arm out, thumb down, palm back. Again, see if you can do this without actually touching your shirt or your back first. Bend your elbow and take the back of your hand just off of your lower back. Some of you might be able to get the hand higher towards the shoulder blades. I know if it's, for me, it starts to strain my forearm. I'm like trying so hard. Now go ahead and take the back of your hand against your back. You know where we're going. The higher you go, the more intense it is. So you get to decide what's appropriate for you today. Slowly roll to your back and lie on top of your hand, palm facing down, back of the hand in your back. Left arm overhead. Either use your left arm as a pillow for your head, or you can drape your arm over the top of your head on the floor. Even here, could you feel a little bit of external rotation in your right outer upper arm? And just a note, I ask these questions because there's always space for the answer to be no. At the end of the day, I'm so happy to be your guide, but you will always be your own best teacher. Nobody will ever know what's going on in your body like you. Now, next exhale, slowly roll onto your side, and you're going to just keep going and roll onto your belly. All right. Now, on your belly, go ahead and lower either your nose, your forehead, or your chin to the mat, whatever is kind of most manageable. And then we're going to do something quite similar to what we just did, but a little bit more active. So bring your big toes together, and then bring your left hand, back of your hand, place it against your lower back again. If you can go higher, go higher. And then you're going to take your right hand to the back of your head. Now, as you next inhale, make sure your inner thighs lift higher than your outer thighs. Lift your head and chest up. Lift your legs up. Now, try to keep your gaze down at the floor or down at your cheeks. Lift your hands off your head and your lower back and hold the air. And it's not going to be easy. Can you get your left shoulder head back? Can you lift your right elbow against the floor, away from the floor? Now, just straighten your arms. Left arm back, right arm forwards. They're going to instinctively keep internally and externally rotating. And then without touching, come back. Right hand hovers over the back of your head, left back of the hand over low back. Do that again. Straighten your arms. Woof, and then rebend, hover just off of your head and your low back. One more time, re-straighten the arms. I know it's a lot. And then hover just off your head and low back, lift your elbows up, and exhale, arms by your sides, turn your head to one side, and take a breath. All right, now bring your head back to center. Again, either nose, chin, or forehead to the mat. Start by taking the back of your right hand on your lower back, and then take your left palm to the back of your head. Now, again, if you can go higher with your right hand, go higher. If you can go lower with your left hand, by all means, give that a try. It's much more difficult. And then slowly, inner thighs roll higher than outer thighs. Lift your head, lift your chest, lift your legs. Now hover your hands, but keep them where they are. Resist your elbows away from the floor. Maybe get the left hand lower and the right hand higher. Stay here, straighten your arms. Left arm overhead, right arm back. Do it again. Bend your elbows, one hand behind your head, just hover, other hand on lower back, hover. And then re-straighten your arms. Keep lifting your chest, lift your legs. One more time. Hover your hand off your head, hover your other one off your back. Inhale, lift higher. And straighten your arms. And then reach your arms back. Whew, and turn your head the opposite way. Lie down, take a breath. Now bring your hands down next to your hips. Curl your toes under. And take a full breath in. Exhale, maybe use your knees. Push yourself up into plank. Good. Pause in plank. We'll take 3 breaths. These are your last 3 breaths in plank, at least in this class. I don't really know what your plans are later. Maybe you have big plank plans for the afternoon. Come back to downward facing dog. Good. Last down dog in our practice together today. Spread the fingers. Notice the difference. And so a lot of really finding this shoulder opening with integrity, right? Keeping the spine stable. It can be a little bit mentally exhausting in addition to being, physically exhausting. These are movements that we have really programmed into us. We instinctively know what to do, right? It's called the glenohumeral rhythm. When we reach the arms overhead, the body knows how to move the shoulder blades. And so sometimes reprogramming ourselves so that we're not kind of taking these little shortcuts and turning it into a back bend, it can be a little tiring. Come down onto your knees. Now for this next piece of our practice, you will probably want to grab a blanket, your blanket, and also your strap. And you're going to fold your blanket in half, and you're going to aim the top, one of the corners of the blanket towards the top edge of your mat. So your groin will kind of come right behind this line. So you're going to sit on your blanket. Sitting bones are supported on it. If you need to, grab a second blanket, and you're going to cross your right leg over the left. And so you might decide here that maybe this isn't going to work for you today. Maybe you either grab another blanket for more height, or you cross the right shin in front of the left. Right, so if you're with me, right thigh is over left, you'll reach your feet back, and that's why the blanket is kind of nice. You can use kind of cut your feet into the outer parts of the blanket, just in front of it. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Now, if you think you're going to use the strap, you're going to want to hold it in the left hand for this one. You're going to reach your right arm out to the side, palm back, and then reach down and bend your elbow, crawl the back of your hand up your back. Then you'll take your left arm up, and then you can kind of let the strap drip down so you can catch it in the right hand if you're going to use it. You can also just kind of press your hands into your back. Now hug your elbows in towards your midline, and right away, are your left ribs getting displaced? Could you one more time here, knit your ribs in and back. Inhale. Maybe you stay upright, maybe you start to fold. Even here, can you feel that same action we found on the floor? Even though you're in internal rotation, can you try to externally rotate your right upper arm and feel how that gives you maybe a deeper shoulder release? Now, just for the last breath, let your arms go, walk them forwards, let it be a little plop. Slowly come back up. Stretch your legs out. Dandasana. And second side. So either you cross the left shin in front of the right, or you stack left knee over right. Bring your heels in towards the outer parts of your blanket or your outer hips. Cut the outer edges of your feet firmly into the floor. If you're going to use the strap, you hold it in the right hand. Left arm goes to the side, thumb in, palm back. Bend your elbow and crawl your hand up your back. And then you'll bend your right elbow, reaching the arm up and then down. If you're using the strap, you let the strap drop into your left hand. If you don't need the strap, you don't use it. Then you inhale, elbows hug to the midline, ribs in. Maybe stay upright, maybe start to fold, rocking forwards on the sitting bones. And so the work here when we're folding, I know for me, it almost feels like the opposite of a lot of this other stuff we've been doing. So as we're trying to maintain the same length on the front and back sides of the torso, it might almost feel like a back bend here, like you're trying to stretch your belly and chest forwards. Feel that same work trying to externally rotate the left upper arm. And then just let your arms drop for the last breath. Let it be a plop. Head drops. And slowly come all the way up. All right. Get your blanket out of your way. And then place your feet flat on the ground out in front of you. Stretch your arms forwards, round your whole spine. And as slowly as you can, let's come all the way down onto the back. Start to stretch your legs out in front of you. Rest your arms down by your sides. Flip your palms up and close your eyes. And so I would recommend that you really give yourself some time here in Shavasana. At least a couple of minutes, maybe 5 or more minutes if you have the time. Really give yourself the time here to let all of your hard work sink in and integrate. And I'm going to say goodbye to you here, but again, please feel free to stay as long as you would like. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.